Somewhere beneath 7 million square miles of ice, life grows too big. Not because it can, because it has to. Down here, the cold doesn't kill things. It perfects them. Tonight, we're heading somewhere your body probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes. The underside of the world, where the ocean sleeps beneath a ceiling of ice. It's dark, silent, and colder than liquid nitrogen on a bad day. But down there, something miraculous and a little unsettling is happening. Creatures grow enormous. Tiny things blown up to nightmare or fairy tale stale. Before you get too comfortable, if these quiet journeys through time and wonder speak to you, leave a like and subscribe, only if your curiosity insists. Now let the glow fade, let the room fall still, and drift with me into tonight's deep blue story. You descend through a hole in the ice, your breath fogging in the glow of your dive lamp. The light dies quickly, swallowed by a blue so deep it looks infinite. The pressure hums against your suit like distant thunder. Somewhere far below, a slow pulse moves through the water, steady, patient. It's not machinery, it's life. Your first thought? Nothing should be alive here. The water's below freezing, the sunlight barely touches the upper layers, and food should be impossible to find. And yet, against all logic, life not only exists, it flourishes. Your lamp catches a glimmer, a moving shape the size of your hand, drifting with slow grace. A sea spider, but not the kind you know. This one is massive, legs stretched wide like silver straws, each movement delicate as lace. It moves with the confidence of something that's never been threatened. Here, there are no fast predators, no chaos, just stillness. You hover, mesmerized, as more appear. Dozens, hundreds, giant sea spiders the size of dinner plates glide across the seafloor. Their translucent bodies glow faintly from within, revealing the slow rhythm of organs pumping liquid life through frozen veins. Historians still argue whether the first explorers' reports of these creatures were exaggerations. Monsters crawling under the ice, one journal claimed. It sounded like delirium or perhaps poetic license. But when modern submersibles first filmed them, the myth became fact. Antarctica breeds giants. And not just spiders. Farther along the seabed, something shuffles. A pale worm, easily half a meter long, its body shimmering like pearl. It moves slowly, deliberately, weaving between rocks and ice crystals. This worm is ancient in its lineage, a survivor of epochs when Antarctica was green and warm. Now it thrives in stillness. There's something poetic about that. When the world freezes, patience becomes the ultimate survival skill. Everything here seems to have learned that truth. You swim deeper, the darkness thickening until your lamp feels like a candle in a cathedral. You pass forests of sponges, towers of soft coral that glow faintly with the light of embedded algae. Each structure looks fossilized, but touch one and it bends, alive, resilient. Some of these sponges are thousands of years old. They've survived ice ages, extinctions, and the long, lonely winters of an entire continent. It's strange. You came here expecting barrenness, but what you find is abundance, just on a different schedule. No bursts of life, no explosions of color. Everything here is slow, vast, deliberate. Even the way sound moves is elongated. Your own bubbles rise in syrupy silence. And then it hits you. The first big question of the night. Why do things get bigger down here? Why, in a place that seems so hostile, does life not shrink and retreat, but grow into titans? The answer, as always, is complicated, but it starts with a paradox. Cold water holds more oxygen. The creatures here breathe better, slower, and longer. They don't burn through energy, they store it, accumulate it, wear it like armor. Over centuries, that patience turns small creatures into giants. You pause mid-water, your breath slowing. The ice ceiling above glows faintly blue, and beneath you stretches an abyss that looks endless. Somewhere far below, something huge moves. Too far to see, too big to be real. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's the first of many things you're about to meet. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets. No crackle of shifting ice, no groan of pressure, just a hum in your chest, the ocean's heartbeat. Down here, it's easy to believe you've slipped out of time itself. The water's density changes, thickening around you like cold glass. A shadow passes above, slow, deliberate. Not a predator, but something that feels like a law being enforced. You're entering what biologists call the rule of the deep. Down here, physics doesn't behave the way you're used to. Every motion is a negotiation. The deeper you dive, the greater the pressure. Crushing, immense, constant. But the creatures that live here don't resist it. They evolve to flow with it. They become it. You hover near the seabed, where fine ice crystals drift in lazy spirals. At first, they look like snowflakes. Then, one moves. A transparent shrimp the size of your forearm scuttles past, legs moving in eerie synchrony. Another joins it. Then another. A slow parade of crustaceans, each absurdly oversized, marching like toy soldiers through the gloom. You realize something extraordinary. Their size isn't random. The Antarctic has rewritten the math of survival. In the tropics, heat speeds metabolism, smallness is efficient. Here, the cold slows everything, growth, movement, even thought. But it doesn't stop them, it frees them. When energy isn't burned away by warmth, it builds layer upon layer, year after frozen year, until a shrimp becomes the size of a child's arm, until a worm stretches longer than your leg. Historians still argue whether Darwin's early notes on polar gigantism were more poetry than biology. His letters hinted at disbelief, creatures in excess of proportion to their kin elsewhere. Today, we know he was right. Evolution here isn't about aggression, it's about patience. A quirky fact, the largest Antarctic amphipod ever recorded was 10 centimeters long, about 20 times larger than its tropical cousin. You can picture it now, floating lazily by, utterly unbothered, like it knows it has centuries to kill. The cold amplifies the strangeness. The water's oxygen content is nearly double what you'd find in the tropics. That oxygen fuels slow, efficient metabolisms and massive growth. The animals here are like the long-distance runners of evolution, fewer bursts, but infinite stamina. A flicker to your right breaks the spell. Something darts by, a small fish, scales glinting like liquid glass. Its fins move in slow rhythm like it's gliding through oil. The Antarctic toothfish, an apex predator in this realm of patience. It doesn't chase, it waits. It's built for ambush, for precision. Its body thrives in near-freezing temperatures thanks to antifreeze proteins, biochemical miracles that prevent its blood from solidifying. And it gets big, too big. Some reach lengths over 2 meters and live half a century. You imagine one watching from the darkness right now, ancient, calculating, unblinking. Still, life here isn't about dominance, it's about coexistence. The giants don't fight, they drift, glide, wait. The ocean is generous, but only to the patient. Then, a small tremor runs through the water. You look up. Ice flakes drift from the ceiling like snow. A larger shadow passes. You catch a glimpse of a tentacle. Then another. It's gone in a blink, but the silence it leaves feels heavier. There's a strange comfort in that weight. This place isn't hostile, it's precise. It doesn't hate you, it just doesn't care. It will keep sculpting giants long after you're gone. You check your oxygen, though you don't need to. The irony doesn't escape you. In a world overflowing with oxygen, you're the one gasping for air. You start your slow ascent, the ocean pulsing around you like a heartbeat slowed by centuries. Every bubble that escapes feels reluctant to leave, as if even the air has learned to linger. Above, a faint shimmer, the ice glowing from the faint sunlight filtering through miles of frozen ceiling. It's hard not to think of it as a living organism, breathing in millennia, exhaling civilizations. Down here, evolution isn't a competition, it's a meditation. And you're just beginning to understand the rules. You drift deeper still, drawn by that instinctive pull of curiosity, the one that's gotten countless explorers frozen, lost, or famous. The light from above fades until the water swallows color entirely. Everything now is blue, black, and silver, like living moonlight suspended in endless night. You think back to those sea spiders you saw earlier, strange, almost elegant things. They're crustaceans, sure, but in Antarctica, they've become something mythic. Some grow to the size of dinner plates, legs stretched like delicate scaffolds, hearts beating so slowly that a single pulse might take seconds. Seconds. For you, that's stillness. For them, it's rhythm. You hover, and one glides past, graceful, eerie, hypnotic. Its body glows faintly, as if lit by a candle burning inside glass. Its movements are so slow that you can count the articulations of its legs, joints by joint, as it walks through the water column. This is Antarctic gigantism in its purest form. You can't help but think of its smaller cousins, those tiny sea spiders that scuttle unseen in tropical reefs, fragile, fast, forgettable. Here, their Antarctic relatives have been stretched and magnified, like evolution itself hit pause and then zoomed in. Biologists have a name for this paradox: polar gigantism. It sounds clinical, but there's something almost spiritual about it. In a world where survival depends on conserving energy, becoming large, becoming slow is the ultimate form of efficiency. You don't fight the cold, you flow with it. Historians still argue whether the first whalers who recorded spiders as big as plates were telling the truth. Many assumed those accounts were hallucinations, men seeing monsters in the icy gloom. But then, a century later, explorers returned with photographs and specimens. Truth, it turns out, had just been waiting for technology to catch up. Farther along the seabed, a flash of motion. A giant amphipod the size of your hand darts out from behind the rock, grabs something invisible, and vanishes. Amphipods are usually small, shrimp-like scavengers, but here, they've gone through their own metamorphosis. 10 centimeters long, armored, slow, and impossibly hardy. They're everywhere, like patient janitors cleaning up the debris of the deep. A quirky fact, in some regions near the Antarctic Peninsula, amphipods outnumber fish. They form a silent workforce beneath the ice, scavengers that keep everything balanced. Without them, the ocean floor would choke on its own decay. You watch one crawl along the seabed, its limbs moving in perfect symmetry, its translucent body pulsing faintly with life. For a moment, you feel like you're watching time itself walk by, ancient, slow, deliberate. Then something unexpected happens. The amphipod stops. It freezes mid-motion, like it senses something you don't. A tremor ripples through the water. From the dark beyond, a shadow moves. It's not fast, but it's enormous. The pressure changes subtly, like the ocean itself is holding its breath. You can't see its full shape, only segments, flashes of pale movement, long limbs unfurling and then retracting. It's another sea spider, but larger, impossibly larger. Its leg span could cover a dining table. You feel a flicker of fear, then curiosity. It doesn't seem to care about you. It simply drifts past, like a ghost from a slower, older world. Its movements are balletic. You half expect it to vanish through a wall of ice. That's the thing about Antarctica. It doesn't reveal itself all at once. It teases you, showing fragments of truth just long enough to make you question whether you're still on Earth at all. As you continue to drift, you notice how sound travels differently here. Each exhaled bubble echoes faintly, as if bouncing through corridors of glass. The silence isn't emptiness, it's pressure, thick and humming, like being inside a sleeping god's heartbeat. Historians still argue whether the phenomenon of gigantism is just chemistry or whether isolation itself drives it. You can't help but think the latter makes sense. These creatures live in a world without interruption. No predators, no noise, no warmth. In that solitude, they grow not only larger, but stranger. You glance upward, the ice ceiling glowing faintly with distant light. Somewhere above that ice, storms rage, ships break, and humans argue. Down here, the world is timeless. You move closer to a ridge, watching colonies of giant starfish and soft corals undulate. A soft current brushes your faceplate, and for a moment, it feels almost like breathing in the rhythm of the planet itself. And somewhere deep inside, you realize the secret. In the Antarctic, size isn't vanity, it's memory. Every giant here is a monument to the centuries it took to become this way. You follow the slope of the ocean floor downward, tracing a landscape sculpted by ice and silence. Ridges stretch like frozen dunes, valleys yawning into darkness so pure it swallows the beam of your light. Every meter deeper feels like another century backward in time. And then you see them. At first, they look like ribbons of silk drifting on the current. Then the light hits them and the illusion shatters. They're worms, but not the kind your garden knows. These are translucent, muscular, glittering things, half a meter long or more. They twist through the water with slow, serpentine grace, each ripple echoing through the stillness like a ghostly dance. Their bristles flash rainbow hues under your lamp. Some glow faintly from within, their bodies alive with bioluminescent bacteria. You watch one coil around a rock like a pale dragon sleeping on treasure. It's beautiful, alien, and slightly disturbing. Biologists call them polychaetes, bristleworms. Most are tiny, soft-bodied scavengers, but in Antarctica, they've evolved into slow-motion monsters. Their size is a consequence of time, oxygen, and solitude. Down here, every heartbeat, every cell division is drawn out like a deep breath. A quirky detail you might enjoy, some Antarctic worms can survive being completely frozen. Their bodies make antifreeze proteins similar to the ice fishes, molecular shields that prevent their cells from shattering when ice forms inside them. When the water warms, they simply thaw and resume as if nothing happened. A biological pause button right there in the genome. You hover near one, careful not to stir the water. Its tiny face turns toward you, its antennae flicking like whiskers. There's an intelligence in that stillness, a patience you'll never know. Historians still argue whether life evolved in places like this, dark, high-pressure worlds under ice. Some think Antarctica is the closest model we have for alien oceans, like those beneath Europa's frozen crust. If so, what you're seeing isn't just a worm, it's a possible preview of life waiting on other worlds. The thought chills you more than the cold ever could. As you drift, you notice how motionless everything seems, until you look closer. The seafloor is alive with movement so slow it's nearly invisible. Starfish expand, mussels rippling once every few minutes. Sea cucumbers crawl with glacial dignity. Even bacteria form shimmering films over rocks, feeding on trace minerals leaching from the ice above. Here, time doesn't flow, it seeps. Something moves at the edge of your vision, a flicker, then gone. You turn, scanning. Nothing but blackness and your own pulse hammering in your ears. Then, faintly, you hear it, a low vibration, a hum so deep it seems to come from inside your bones. The worm beside you stills completely, its body rigid. The hum grows louder. It's not mechanical, it's not human, it's something alive. You switch off your light, total darkness. The hum continues, rising and falling like a heartbeat buried in miles of water. Then, far away, a shape moves. Massive, slow, deliberate. For a moment, your mind rebels. It's too big, its motion is too smooth. Then, just as suddenly, it fades into nothing. You breathe out, bubbles spiraling upward like silver ghosts. The hum fades. The worm resumes its slow undulation. Everything returns to stillness. Maybe it was a current. Maybe it wasn't. Antarctica keeps her secrets. As you start moving again, you notice the seafloor changing. The sand gives way to black stone veined with ice. Tiny anemones bloom like ghost flowers. Each one opens and closes in a rhythm that feels alive, like a pulse beneath your feet. The deeper you go, the more you sense it. This vast, interconnected calm, a kind of frozen heartbeat shared by everything down here. And you begin to realize, the cold doesn't just make things larger, it makes them endure. It stretches life until it becomes almost eternal. You turn your light back toward the worm. Its glow has dimmed, almost invisible now, but the shimmer is still there. A soft reminder that even in this dark cathedral of pressure and ice, life persists. Not by fighting, not by rushing, but by waiting. And in that waiting, it becomes enormous. You drift along the seabed until the slope flattens into a plain of ice silt. Nothing stirs at first, only the faint shimmer of mineral grains swirling in your lamp beam. Then a pattern emerges, subtle and strange. Every movement, every twitch, every faint pulse seems to follow a rhythm. Down here, the entire ocean keeps time. Not seconds, not minutes, geological tempo. When you finally notice how slowly everything happens, it feels like you've entered the heartbeat of the planet. A sea spider takes half a minute to lift a leg. A starfish spends an hour turning over a pebble. Even the current creeps like honey. Life has synced itself to the ice's metronome, where each year blends into the next like one long breath. The cold doesn't just chill, it measures, it paces. In the Antarctic, ice becomes a clock. You kneel on the seabed, watching small amphipods cluster around a scrap of decaying sponge. They eat methodically, a dozen tiny mouths working in unison. Their metabolism is so slow that one meal could sustain them for weeks. Imagine that, a lifetime powered by patience. If you lived like that, you'd need centuries just to get through breakfast. A quirky detail surfaces in your memory. Scientists once kept Antarctic amphipods in lab tanks for nearly 20 years. Some never stopped growing. No maturity plateau, no old age, just steady, deliberate expansion. Here, aging itself is elastic. Historians still argue whether early naturalists noticed this or simply lacked the patience to observe it. Victorian explorers measured creatures by inches, not by decades. They missed the miracle. Growth here is a form of endurance, not ambition. You hover beside a sponge the size of a boulder. Its surface feels soft, almost warm under the light. This organism could be older than cities, thousands of years. Each ring in its body records another century of ice advance, another century of retreat. Time, frozen in cellulose. The sponge doesn't hurry, it doesn't need to. Its enemy isn't death, it's disturbance. Something about that realization stings a little. You think of the noise of the surface world, machines, clocks, deadlines. Here, none of that matters. Down here, the smallest creature has already outweighed empires. You glance upward. The ice ceiling ripples with dim light from far-off storms. The water refracts it into slow-motion lightning that crawls across the underside of the world. For a heartbeat, you feel weightless in time. Then movement breaks the trance. A translucent fish glides from the dark, a dragonfish, its mouth glowing with chemical fire. It moves like a dream, fins fanning the water in silent beats. When it opens its jaws, you glimpse rows of needle teeth and a light organ glowing in its throat. The illumination fades and brightens, like breathing. The fish is large, but not rushed. Each flick of its tail is spaced by stillness. Even hunting, it waits. Patience, again, weaponized. You remember the worm from before, the sea spiders, the amphipods, all obeying the same rule. Down here, speed is a waste. Time itself stretches and folds until evolution favors stillness. The longer you live, the larger you grow. It's unsettling, that reversal of everything you know. On land, survival means urgency. Eat fast, breed fast, run fast. In the Antarctic, it means the opposite. Slow down or die out. You drift toward a canyon rim where ancient ice meets volcanic rock. The junction glows faintly green from colonies of microorganisms feeding on sulfur. Each bubble of gas rises lazily, taking its time to burst at the surface. Even chemistry has adopted the rhythm. Historians still debate whether the continent's first explorers could sense this hidden tempo beneath their sleds. Some diaries mention a silence so heavy it bends the mind. Maybe they did. Maybe that's what frightened them most. The realization that the world moves perfectly fine without you. A current slides past, nudging you toward the abyss again. Somewhere in that darkness, life continues its endless counting. The worms pulse, the amphipods crawl, the dragonfish drifts, each one marking the seconds of an oceanic clock older than civilization. And you, just for a moment, can almost hear it tick. The sound of your own breathing becomes hypnotized now. Inhale, exhale, bubbles spiraling upward through darkness that seems infinite. You'd think that this would be the quietest place on Earth, but it isn't. The Antarctic Ocean hums with a low, steady vibration, like the faint echo of something vast turning over in its sleep. The deeper you descend, the more you sense it, a pulse that belongs to everything alive here. The water is denser, colder, and almost syrupy now. You can see your breath freeze against your visor before the current carries it away. The deeper layers here are loaded with oxygen, an invisible abundance that changes everything. And that's the secret scientists keep returning to, the oxygen jackpot. Antarctic waters hold more oxygen than nearly anywhere else on Earth. In this cold, molecules slow down, cling together, and let life breathe more freely. Small creatures get a bonus. They don't need to pant or pump as hard. Their blood carries more oxygen per beat. Their cells grow without strain. Over millennia, those small advantages turn microscopic bodies into leviathans. It's elegant, really. Nature found a loophole in her own design. You hover near a cluster of sea spiders again, their spindly bodies moving in unison. Each leg gleams like glass under the weak beam of your lamp. Oxygen saturates their tissues, allowing their organs to stretch, their circulatory systems to expand like slow-moving rivers inside their translucent shells. You can actually see their hearts beating, dim, pulsing spots of light moving through clear bodies. Historians still argue whether early biologists truly understood this relationship between oxygen and size, or simply stumbled onto it. In the 19th century, one researcher blamed polar sorcery, convinced that low temperatures themselves enchanted life into massive forms. Today, the sorcery has a chemical name, but the mystery hasn't faded. A quirky experiment from the 1970s comes to mind. Scientists raised tropical amphipods in cold, oxygen-rich tanks. Within a few generations, the creatures doubled in size. The Antarctic had been right all along. The colder the blood, the bigger the dream. You drift farther into the abyss. A pale fish, scales shimmering like frost, slides past. It's the icefish, the strangest vertebrate on the planet. Its blood is transparent, entirely without hemoglobin. Where you would expect red, there's nothing. Yet it thrives. How? Because in this oxygen-soaked world, it doesn't need red blood cells to carry what the water freely offers. It's haunting to think of. A creature that literally doesn't bleed, yet lives stronger, longer, larger than its crimson-blooded kin. You watch one glide in slow arcs, its fins undulating like sheets of silk, and you feel an odd admiration for it. A life form perfectly synchronized with the world that made it. The irony, of course, is that humans couldn't last 5 minutes here. Your suit is your only shield, a fragile bubble of warmth. Strip it away, and your blood would crystallize before your heart could finish its next beat. You, the warm, fast, restless species, hopelessly unsuited for a place where patience is evolution's masterpiece. The current shifts. Flakes of ice drift upward from a subglacial vent, tiny prisms glinting in your light. You realize that every bubble, every shimmer of oxygen is part of an invisible network sustaining life too large to imagine. Somewhere below, colossal amphipods pick through the seafloor. Above, krill swarm like drifting galaxies. Everything is connected by oxygen's invisible generosity. Historians still debate whether the first scientists to measure this excess truly understood what it meant. Many dismissed it as an anomaly, a quirk of temperature. Only later did they realize it was the engine behind the world of giants. The oxygen isn't just abundant, it's abundant in a place that slows everything else down. That's the paradox you keep coming back to. Where the rest of the world burns oxygen to live faster, Antarctica hoards it to live longer. You press your palm against the inside of your visor, watching condensation frost and melt with each breath. The cycle repeats, steady and slow, just like everything else here. You're starting to adapt to the rhythm without meaning to. And as you drift upward, your lamp catching the shimmer of amphipods, fish, and ancient sponges, you realize that in this oxygen-drenched, slow-moving universe, nothing hurries toward life, and nothing rushes toward death. Everything simply grows. You rise through the blue-black quiet, letting the ocean cradle you like a heartbeat between centuries. Everything below seems timeless, yet even eternity has its hunger. The Antarctic may grant size and patience, but it demands endurance. And endurance, down here, means surviving the long dark. Half the year, the sun vanishes. The ocean freezes deeper, the surface locks shut, and food all but disappears. In that starvation, the real magic happens. The giants don't die, they wait. You spot movement along the seafloor. A giant isopod, its flattened body creeping through silt like a slow, armored tank. It's enormous, nearly half a meter long, and for all its intimidating size, it's a scavenger. Its world is built from leftovers, fragments, and patience. You follow it for a while, fascinated. When it stops, you realize why. It's feeding on the remains of something unrecognizable, a fallen jelly maybe, or the shredded edge of a fish. In a few slow motions, it folds the mass into its mouth parts, consuming it molecule by molecule. That meal could last it months. Historians still argue whether such creatures are giants by choice or victims of environmental mercy. Maybe both. They've evolved to endure the unendurable. When the sea goes dark, when even bacteria slow their heartbeat to a crawl, these animals persist. You think about hunger differently now. Up above, hunger means urgency. Move, hunt, eat. Down here, it's a quiet negotiation. These creatures stretch their metabolism until it almost stops. They hover between life and sleep, between being and waiting. A quirky finding from a 2008 study comes to mind. Some Antarctic isopods can survive 5 years without food. They simply reduce their metabolic activity to near zero. Scientists nicknamed it hibernation without sleep. When nourishment returns, they just resume. No drama, no panic. You drift closer to another patch of life. Massive amphipods crawling through a field of sponge debris. They move with the same deliberate stillness, like monks at a slow-motion meal. The cold preserves every scrap longer than you think possible. Decay here isn't destruction, it's storage. A faint shiver runs through the water. You turn your light outward, catching sight of a pale fish darting once, then vanishing. Probably a toothfish, Antarctica's apex predator, though it hardly fits the title. It doesn't chase, it waits, conserving energy until opportunity literally drifts by. That's the rhythm of this ocean. Nothing rushes, nothing wastes. You rise slightly, watching the faint bioluminescent haze pulse through the darkness. Microscopic life, glowing faintly green and blue, a silent aurora under ice. For a moment, it feels like you're suspended in the middle of space. And then you realize the pattern of light is changing. It's rhythmic, organized, moving in waves. Entire colonies of plankton flashing in sequence. Not random, communicative, like the ocean itself speaking in slow Morse. Historians still debate whether early sailors who claimed the sea breathed light were exaggerating. But they weren't wrong. Bioluminescence here is survival, a language of attraction, camouflage, and alarm. When larger creatures rise to feed, the plankton answer in glowing cascades that stretch for miles. The giants see it too. You watch a massive amphipod drift into view, its limbs scissoring slowly. For a moment, the light glints off its shell, and you realize how delicate it actually is. Beneath all that armor, it's transparent, fragile. It's only a giant because the world around it moves slow enough to allow it. That thought stays with you, how fragility, given time and peace, becomes grandeur. The water trembles faintly again. You glance upward. The ceiling of ice glows with trapped bubbles that look like ancient stars. Maybe you're imagining it, but for a heartbeat, you think you see movement behind them, something huge sliding just beyond the reach of your light. Whatever it is doesn't linger. The silence closes around you again, calm and perfect. Here, even starvation feels holy. The cold strips everything to essentials. No wasted motion, no unnecessary life. Just endurance, expanded until it looks like divinity. As you hover in that cathedral of stillness, you can't help but think, maybe gigantism isn't about strength at all. Maybe it's the body's way of whispering, I can wait. And the longer it waits, the larger it becomes. The current carries you through a tunnel of ice so clear it seems carved from glass. Tiny bubbles are trapped in the walls, perfect spheres of ancient air, frozen whispers from a million years ago. You glide through slowly, the beam of your light cutting across their faces, watching reflections ripple like shifting constellations. It's easy to think nothing changes here, but even in stillness, life experiments. Somewhere beneath your fins, evolution is busy breaking its own rules. You level out near the ocean floor, and there it is, a shrimp. At first glance, ordinary, until it moves. Its body stretches nearly half a meter long, legs fanning the silt with a grace that feels mechanical. The creature pauses, then snaps forward, faster than you thought possible, vanishing into the gloom. This is the Antarctic shrimp that made scientists rewrite textbooks. It grows enormous in the cold, huge by shrimp standards, but here's the twist. Its internal chemistry shouldn't allow it. By all known equations, it should have frozen solid or collapsed under its own biology, and yet it thrives. You follow another one through the haze. It glows faintly, shimmering gold against the blue water. The effect is almost hypnotic, a moving ember in an endless sea of cold. Researchers call it a lawbreaker species. It defies the expected link between temperature, size, and metabolism, a mystery that's left biologists baffled for decades. Some call it an anomaly, others call it proof that life's most persistent habit is disobedience. Historians still argue whether the first fishermen who caught one of these giants thought it was real or a trick of light. Reports from early expeditions mention shrimps too large to fit in the pan. The crew laughed, but the logbook didn't. A quirky detail: the shrimp's nervous system slows nearly 50% in these waters. It shouldn't move well at all, yet its muscle fibers are built for cold, firing efficiently where warm-blooded creatures would seize up. In short, its body rewrote physics to match Antarctica's tempo. You hover, watching a group of them gather around a patch of detritus, their legs scissoring like dancers in slow choreography. Each movement is smooth, graceful, deliberate. There's an eerie beauty to it. You can almost hear the rhythm they move to, a tempo not of seconds, but centuries. And that rhythm, it's everywhere. Even the stillness hums with it. The shrimp flickers once and disappears into darkness again. You think of all the rules you've been taught, the neat lines of science, the tidy equations that describe what can and cannot live. Down here, those lines dissolve. Cold becomes energy, slowness becomes speed, weakness becomes an advantage. You push onward past fields of giant sponges that look like frozen fireworks, each one hundreds of years old. A small amphipod scuttles across one, then pauses, perhaps aware that it's crawling over something that began growing when humans still drew on cave walls. Everything you see seems to whisper the same truth: you can't rush greatness. Historians still debate whether the Antarctic ecosystem is stable or teetering at its limit. For now, it endures, but you can feel how fragile the balance is. A few degrees of warmth, a shift in currents, and all of this could unravel. You stop near a vent where water seeps upward, warmer, full of minerals. Around it, life clusters in strange forms. Translucent worms, jelly-like colonies, strange crustaceans that shimmer like liquid silver. They move differently from the shrimp, quicker, almost restless. It's as if they're impatient with the cold, slow design. That impatience feels familiar. You hover, watching their dance, realizing that even here, evolution experiments with rhythm. Some creatures stretching time, others trying to outrun it. The shrimp you saw earlier mastered stillness. These vent dwellers chase movement, burning brighter, shorter, faster. And maybe that's the Antarctic's greatest secret. It doesn't just create giants, it creates balance. Slowness and speed, patience and hunger coexist in an eternal negotiation written in ice. A faint vibration rumbles through the water, the shrimp scatter into the gloom. From somewhere beyond your light, a deep tone resonates, like the sound of a whale song, but older, rougher, cracked with distance. You pause, every nerve awake. The pitch dips lower, rolling through your bones, then fades. Whatever made that sound isn't near, but it's big, very big. You start to move again, your breath loud in your ears. The cold feels heavier now, thicker. Every sound seems amplified. The shrimp are gone, but the echo lingers. And in that echo, you finally understand. Life here is not small, not fragile, it's defiant. Each creature is a quiet rebellion against the impossible. Historians still debate whether the Antarctic ecosystem is stable or teetering at its limit. For now, it endures, but you can feel how fragile the balance is. A few degrees of warmth, a shift in currents, and all of this could unravel. You stop near a vent where water seeps upward, warmer, full of minerals. Around it, life clusters in strange forms: translucent worms, jelly-like colonies, strange crustaceans that shimmer like liquid silver. They move differently from the shrimp, quicker, almost restless. It's as if they're impatient with the cold, slow design. That impatience feels familiar. You hover, watching their dance, realizing that even here, evolution experiments with rhythm. Some creatures stretching time, others trying to outrun it. The shrimp you saw earlier mastered stillness. These vent dwellers chase movement, burning brighter, shorter, faster. And maybe that's the Antarctic's greatest secret. It doesn't just create giants, it creates balance. Slowness and speed, patience and hunger coexist in an eternal negotiation written in ice. A faint vibration rumbles through the water. The shrimp scatter into the gloom. From somewhere beyond your light, a deep tone resonates, like the sound of a whale song, but older, rougher, cracked with distance. You pause, every nerve awake. The pitch dips lower, rolling through your bones, then fades. Whatever made that sound isn't near, but it's big, very big. You start to move again, your breath loud in your ears. The cold feels heavier now, thicker. Every sound seems amplified. The shrimp are gone, but the echo lingers. And in that echo, you finally understand. Life here is not small, not fragile, it's defiant. Each creature is a quiet rebellion against the impossible. The echo fades, leaving the water so still that you can hear your own pulse through the regulator. It's hard to know if the silence comforts you or unnerves you. The ocean has that effect. It doesn't care what you feel. It just mirrors it back in pressure and cold. You follow the last shimmer of light from your lamp into the deep blue haze ahead. Out of that haze comes movement, a slow, silver flicker, elegant as smoke. Then another, and another. They glide towards you like ghosts, ice fish, the glass-blooded miracles of Antarctica. They're pale, almost translucent, their bodies framed in faint threads of light. You can see right through them, bones, organs, even the gentle contractions of muscle. But the most haunting detail is what they lack: color. Their blood is not red because it has no hemoglobin. In the rest of the animal kingdom, that would mean death. Here, it means dominance. You hover, captivated. The largest one turns lazily, its eye a perfect mirror. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was a specter, a thought shaped from ice. Biologists have studied these fish for decades, and they still don't fully understand how they do it. Their clear blood allows oxygen to dissolve directly into plasma. They breathe through skin, gills, and pores, absorbing what they need from a sea bursting with oxygen. They are, in the most literal sense, breathing the ocean itself. Historians still argue whether early whalers' stories of bloodless fish were superstition or early discovery. But when modern researchers first dissected one, they had to check their instruments. The fish's veins were empty. No color, no clots, just ghostly fluid. You follow a small group drifting through the dark. Their movement is strange, slow but precise, graceful yet almost lazy. It's not just survival, it's mastery of the environment. They've become so efficient that warmth would actually kill them. That realization hits you like a whisper in the back of your mind. These fish are prisoners of perfection. They can only live in a world this cold, this precise. Warmth, the thing most creatures crave, would dissolve them. The irony is almost cosmic. You move closer to one of them, watching its gills pulse gently. Its body glimmers with tiny ice crystals that refract your light like diamonds. The fish doesn't flinch, doesn't flee. It's as if fear is a concept too expensive for this slow economy of energy. And then you notice something stranger. The fish isn't alone. Around it, almost invisible until you stare, are smaller, fainter shapes, tiny crustaceans clinging to its skin, feeding off microscopic algae that grow there. Even symbiosis is slowed, stretched into years instead of days. A quirky detail, the icefish's heart is massive compared to its body. It needs to be to circulate oxygen-rich plasma through its translucent veins. Each beat sends a visible pulse of light down its spine, like the flicker of a candle in deep water. You realize you've been holding your breath. You exhale, watching your bubbles rise, twisting slowly upward until they vanish into the ice ceiling far above. Down here, even air behaves differently, less eager to escape. The fish glide on, and you follow for a while, losing track of time. There's no sense of minutes or hours here, just movement, just stillness. Eventually, they vanish into the gloom, absorbed by the vastness. And for the first time, you feel the scale of this place pressing in. These fish, so perfect, so adapted, are just one thread in an endless tapestry. You flash back to the shrimp, the amphipods, the worms, the slow empire of patience you've been exploring. Every creature you've met so far is an artist in the medium of time. The icefish, though, theirs its masterpiece. Historians still debate whether gigantism and bloodlessness are connected. Some argue that by removing hemoglobin, the fish reduced biological waste and freed resources for growth. Others say it's coincidence, a lucky mutation in a world that punishes mistakes with extinction. You don't know which theory to believe, but watching them drift through the dark, immense, and silent, you can't shake the sense that the Antarctic isn't producing creatures, it's composing them. Each one a note in a frozen symphony that's been playing for millions of years. The light dims, the cold presses closer, and somewhere in that pressure, the icefish disappears completely. You linger in the silence, half expecting another glimpse, but only the dark answers. And maybe that's the point. Down here, mystery isn't solved, it's simply lived with. You rise through the water column, guided by a faint flicker of light. At first, it looks like distant lightning. Then you realize its movement, life, layered in shimmering waves. You've entered a migration, a procession of strange, enormous creatures drifting toward the dark horizon. They're amphipods, thousands of them, some small as grains of rice, others the size of your hand, and a few far larger. They move like a living tide, each carrying tiny bits of detritus in their mouths, each part of an endless cycle of eating and being eaten. But the big ones, the true Antarctic titans, stand out. They're scavengers, yes, but they're also hunters. Here, in a world too cold for frenzy, the rules bend. When resources vanish, even patience sharpens its teeth. You watch as one massive amphipod lunges at another. The motion is slow, deliberate, but when it connects, there's force, a sudden, efficient violence. It grips, folds, consumes. No chase, no escape, just inevitability. That's when you realize the line between scavenger and predator here is thin as ice. In this ecosystem, size can shift your role entirely. Become large enough, and the hunted becomes the hunter. Historians still argue when this inversion began, whether Antarctic gigantism was a side effect of cold or a strategy that reshaped entire food chains. Whatever the answer, you can see it now. This ocean is ruled not by speed, but by endurance. You drift beside one of the amphipods, watching its long, translucent antenna sweep the water. Its body armor gleams faintly like polished bone. Inside, through its glassy shell, organs shimmer with faint green and gold light. You can almost see thought happening, every movement a patient decision. It drifts near the carcass of a jellyfish, folds its legs around it, and feeds. The act is almost ritualistic. Even in death, energy is honored here. Nothing wasted, nothing rushed. A quirky fact, in the Antarctic benthos, amphipods can reach densities of hundreds per square meter. When a large carcass falls, they converge in shimmering clouds that can strip a whale skeleton clean in a matter of days. Days in a world where time is measured in years. It's both macabre and magnificent. The deeper you watch, the clearer the pattern becomes. Gigantism creates hierarchy. Those who endure longest claim the quiet throne of the ocean floor. You pass over the remains of a decayed fish. Around it, smaller amphipods cluster nervously, while the giants move in with serene inevitability. You think of wolves, lions, or vultures, but there's no aggression here, no snarling. It's all too calm, too measured. The cold removes anger as efficiently as it removes waste heat. Even predators here are philosophers. A faint tremor ripples through the water, a shadow passing above. You angle your light upward just in time to see a blur of muscle and motion, a toothfish, sleek and massive, gliding through the school like a knife through fabric. Amphipods scatter, but slowly, almost gracefully. There's no panic, just reorganization. The fish swallows one and disappears, its silver body melting back into the dark. You can almost imagine the amphipod's reaction, a collective shrug. Down here, death is just another phase of endurance. Historians still debate when this deep calm is purely biological or something closer to spiritual. They call it thermal stoicism, a behavioral adaptation to eternal cold. It's as though evolution decided that panic wastes calories and calm multiplies them. You can see why that philosophy works. Everywhere you look, the giants persist because they conserve everything: movement, breath, emotion. The Antarctic doesn't reward drama, it rewards stillness. But even that stillness can become predatory. You hover, transfixed by the sight of another amphipod crawling toward the remains of its fallen kin. It stops, touches the body once with an antenna, then begins to feed. Not with savagery, but with reverence. Energy goes where it's needed. Life continues. The slow-motion hunger of this place feels less like cruelty and more like worship. Above you, a faint hum starts again, the same low vibration you heard before. It's everywhere now, resonating through the ice and bone of the water. You can't tell if it's a whale song or something older. The amphipods pause, the hum deepens, then fades. For a long moment, there's only quiet again. Peaceful, heavy, absolute. You realize, watching these slow predators and patient scavengers, that this ocean has no villains, only survivors. Every life here has negotiated its existence with the cold, and the contract is always the same: grow, endure, and take only what time allows. And you can't help but think, maybe that's not a bad way to live. The hum fades, and the ocean settles again into its slow, silent rhythm. You begin to drift forward, your breath the only thing moving faster than time down here. It's easy to forget the world above, to imagine that this black cathedral of ice and water is eternal. But nothing in nature stays still forever, not even Antarctica. You pass a ridge of stone that looks too regular to be natural, until you realize it's a fossil bed. Shapes emerge from the rock: shells, bones, impressions of long-vanished creatures. Some are small, others enormous. Each is a message from an older Earth, when this place wasn't cold, when life here was lush and green and crowded. You brush a layer of silt from one fossil and see the outline of a trilobite, its armor still perfect after hundreds of millions of years. Around it are fragments of ancient corals, the ghosts of a tropical sea. You can almost imagine warm currents, reefs alive with color, the buzz of life in fast motion. It's a jarring thought that this frozen graveyard was once paradise. Historians still argue whether Antarctic gigantism has roots stretching back to those ancient oceans. Fossils suggest that even in warmer epochs, life here leaned toward the large. Some paleontologists think the trend began not with cold, but with isolation. When the continent drifted south and froze, the pattern simply intensified. A quirky discovery supports that theory: a fossilized crustacean found inland near what used to be a river delta. It's from a time long before the ice, yet its proportions are absurd, far bigger than anything its tropical cousins managed. The Antarctica, it seems, was preparing its giants long before the world cooled. You lift your gaze from the fossils to the water ahead, where massive shadows move among the ice pillars. For a dizzy moment, you can't tell where the ancient ends and the living begins. A huge sponge rises from the seabed, shaped like a horn or a tower. Around its base, brittle stars weave in slow spirals, their arms tracing geometry too graceful to random. The idea hits you quietly. This is continuity, not coincidence. The living and the dead share the same script, the same design. The only difference is time. You think of how the ocean remembers, how pressure preserves, how cold embalms, how stillness hides decay. The fossils below you are not separate from the life above. They are the same story written in different tenses. Then, out of the corner of your eye, something glows. A faint green shimmer deep within a crevice. You edge closer, careful not to stir the silt. The light is coming from a colony of bacteria feeding on iron minerals. Bioluminescent veins trace the shape of ancient rock, illuminating the fossil bed like a lantern from another world. You hover, mesmerized. It feels symbolic, the living literally illuminating the dead. Historians still debate whether such microbial colonies could have survived from prehistoric times, frozen in stasis until conditions allowed them to wake again. It sounds impossible, yet in Antarctica, impossible often feels like understatement. You look down once more at the fossilized trilobite, now glowing under bacterial light. The shape is alien, yet familiar, a reminder that Earth's imagination has always been stranger than ours. And as the glow flickers, you realize how thin the boundary really is between extinction and endurance. A soft current rises, lifting the fine dust of ages. You watch the particles spiral upward, each one a fragment of something that once lived. They drift toward the surface, where new life, amphipods, krill, even bacteria, will absorb them. In this ocean, even death is recycled into motion. The concept feels oddly comforting. You take a slow breath, the air hissing gently through your mask. For all its silence, Antarctica is never static. Beneath the weight of ice and time, it's always remaking itself, slowly, beautifully, relentlessly. You glance toward the dark again. Somewhere in that ancient water, life continues its endless experiment, just as it has since the first molecule decided to divide. And suddenly, the giants you've seen, the worms, the sea spiders, the shrimp, they don't feel accidental anymore. They feel inevitable. You swim onward, following a faint downward slope where the seabed drops away into an immense trench. The light from your lamp disappears into it, swallowed by distance. For a moment, you're suspended between two infinities, the ice above, the abyss below. Both ancient, both indifferent. This trench isn't just deep, it's isolating. It's the perfect metaphor for Antarctica itself, cut off from the rest of the planet by miles of ice and swirling currents that act like liquid walls. No tropical invader, no foreign gene, no curious explorer lasts long here. It's an evolutionary quarantine, a biological fortress. They call it the continental prison, but down here, prison becomes paradise for those who adapt. You pass a forest of sponges, each towering like petrified trees. Between them crawl the giants, sea spiders, amphipods, and isopods. In the flashlight's glow, their shells gleam like crystal armor. Everything about them feels exaggerated, but never random. Evolution has taken its time here, refining survival into an art form. A school of small fish, ice fish maybe, drifts by in slow procession. Their clear bodies glint against the pale coral, perfect camouflage for a world without color. Nothing here seems hurried, yet everything is precisely tuned. Every gesture counts, every breath costs. Historians still argue whether Antarctica's biological isolation is a blessing or curse. Some say it's the reason this ecosystem is so stable, no external competition, no invasive chaos. Others say it's fragile, brittle, like glass. One change in temperature, one shift in current, and the entire cathedral of stillness could collapse. You hover, imagining what would happen if the walls came down. If the currents warmed, if migration patterns shifted, if the Southern Ocean invited the rest of the world in. What would happen to the giants? The thought feels like a prophecy you don't want to see fulfilled. A quirky fact breaks the tension. Scientists have discovered that certain Antarctic amphipods, when removed from this environment and placed in warmer water, begin to shrink across generations. Not die, shrink. As though gigantism itself is a privilege that the ice grants, then reclaims when warmth returns. You can't help but smile at the poetic cruelty of that. Down here, size isn't a gift, it's a citizenship, revoked the moment you leave. You continue your slow glide through the trench, watching as the seafloor shifts again, now jagged, streaked with volcanic rock. Antarctica's heart still beats with buried fire, though you'd never guess it from the frozen surface above. The heat seeps into the water, creating small thermal pockets where life crowds eagerly. Sponges the size of cars, starfish with arms longer than your forearm, soft-bodied worms that shimmer in pastel colors. It's strange. Isolation should mean emptiness, but here it means excess. Cut off from everything, life has turned inward, expanding itself rather than its territory. Where the rest of the world competes, this place perfects. Historians still debate whether early whalers or explorers ever sensed this unseen world beneath their ships. Many wrote of impossible abundance, but none could have imagined this quiet empire thriving just meters below the keel. You think back to those accounts, men freezing on deck, surrounded by a sea of mystery they never saw. How strange that the greatest laboratory of life was beneath their boots all along. The isolation here doesn't just protect life, it defines it. Without interruption, species refine their design across millennia. No predators come to disrupt them, no foreign diseases sweep through. Time becomes gentle, and in that gentleness, life grows huge, old, and lies. You pass a cluster of translucent eggs anchored to the rocks. They glow faintly, reflecting your light. Inside, embryos twitch, slow-motion promises of another generation that will hatch into the same calm vastness. You can almost imagine the ocean whispering lullabies to them. Above you, the ice ceiling curves into a dome. The water feels thicker here, like syrupy air. Every motion is heavy with age, every sound delayed. You feel like you're moving through history itself, suspended in the slow heartbeat of the planet. Antarctica's prison is not punishment, it's discipline. And in its solitude, life achieves something no bustling ecosystem can: perfection through patience. You take one last look at the glowing eggs, the drifting fish, the colossal sponges. Every life here feels handcrafted, sculpted by time and stillness. And for the first time, you start to wonder whether the outside world, loud, warm, frantic, might be the real prison after all. You rise toward a pale haze that could be the surface or just another layer of water catching stray light. The silence is thicker now, almost tangible. Somewhere above, ice groans like an ancient door closing. Down here, sound travels farther than sight, and every creak feels like it happens inside your chest. Your instruments register movement, a cluster of signals just ahead, dense and irregular. When you reach it, you stop short. A field of metal cages rests on the seabed, scientific traps, old ones. Their frames are corroded, wrapped in algae, filled with something moving. Amphipods, giant ones, crowd inside, feasting on what's left of bait that must have been lowered years ago. The equipment hums faintly with residual current from the surface. And nearby, in a silted trench, lies a shape that shouldn't be here. The twisted skeleton of a research drone, half buried, its lights still blinking weakly. You float closer, and your reflection stares back from its cracked camera lens. Human curiosity always finds its way into forbidden places, doesn't it? But the giants here, they've adapted even to that intrusion. Around the broken drone, the largest amphipods you've seen circle lazily. They've turned our technology into a reef, a new structure to feed, nest, and hide within. Historians still argue whether modern exploration benefits or harms this frozen kingdom. Each submersible, each trawling expedition brings data and damage in equal measure. Some say it's the only way to understand this place before climate change erases it. Others whisper that every intrusion shatters 1,000 years of silence. A quirky headline once captured the irony perfectly. Humans bring metal, and Antarctica makes it part of nature. You can see that truth right here. The cages and cables are no longer foreign, they're woven into the ecosystem. Even decay is recycled. The current shifts, carrying the faint shimmer of light from above. You follow it, rising slowly until the murk thins into clarity. There, something glints just beneath the ice ceiling. A research buoy, half frozen, tilting at an angle. Its tether vanishes into the blue. Around it, the water is alive. Giant jellyfish float in the light like alien suns, their bells wide as cars, their tendrils streaming meters behind them. Their motion is trance-like, expand, contract, drift, a living pulse keeping time with the ocean's heartbeat. One drifts close, its translucent body glowing with electric blue veins. It's beautiful, serene, and then, as your light catches it, you see something lodged in the curve of its bell. A metal tag, human-made. Even this creature has been measured, cataloged, claimed. You can't help but laugh softly into your mask. Even here, in a realm of slow immortals, humanity leaves its signature. The jellyfish continues its graceful drift, unbothered. It survived worse, centuries of storms, predators, cold. A small tag won't slow it down. Still, there's a quiet melancholy in that image, the meeting of permanence and impermanence, of patience and interference. Historians still debate how much longer this delicate balance can hold. Temperatures are rising, slowly but surely. Ice shelves retreat a few meters more each year. When that happens, currents will shift, oxygen levels will fall, and the giants, these magnificent, patient creatures, will begin to shrink. You hover beneath the buoy, watching it creak and sway. A cable groans against the ice, shedding rust like snowfall. Below you, the amphipods continue to feed. Around you, the jellyfish glow. Above, the ice ceiling trembles with light from a distant sun. For a moment, you feel like you're standing at the threshold between two epochs, the frozen and the thawed, the timeless and the fleeting. A sound breaks through the stillness, a distant rhythmic pounding. At first, you think it's machinery, but then it resolves into something else, a heartbeat, magnified and distorted by the ice. It could be your own, it could be the ocean's. Either way, it reminds you of what all this grandeur costs. Every empire falls, even this one. You start your slow ascent toward the surface, the pressure easing, the light widening around you. Below, the giants continue their patient lives, unaware of how close their world is to changing forever. And as you rise, you can't shake the feeling that the Antarctica isn't just a place, it's a warning. A masterpiece balanced on the edge of a melting knife. The last meters of ascent feel like climbing through time itself. Your light dims as the water brightens, a reversal that feels spiritual. The deeper you go, the more the world reveals. The closer you get to the surface, the more it hides. The ceiling of ice above you glows faintly with trapped sunlight, fractured into blue and gold veins like stained glass. You reach it, and for a moment, you just hover, staring. This frozen roof isn't flat, it's textured, sculpted by tides and air bubbles and centuries of quiet pressure. It looks alive, breathing slowly. Every ripple is history frozen mid-sentence. You touch it gently, the surface hums. The vibration travels through your fingertips, down your arm, into your chest. It's faint but constant, the sound of the world above, filtered through miles of ancient crystal. And then, somewhere distant, you hear the unmistakable groan of cracking ice. It's not a sound you ever get used to. It doesn't crash, it moans, a deep, sorrowful voice that seems to come from the bones of the planet. The crack widens, and thin rays of brighter light spear through. Microscopic particles of ice drift down like glittering dust. It's both beautiful and horrifying, a reminder that even the oldest prisons eventually break. You drift back, watching as one of the fissures widens. It doesn't shatter, it yawns, slow and deliberate. From the opening, a column of warmer water begins to rise, stirring everything it touches. You can feel the shift instantly. The current changes direction, small creatures scatter. The amphipods below you realign their positions like grains of sand in a windstorm. Historians still debate when Antarctica will reach its tipping point. Some models say 2 centuries, others 2 decades. But standing here now, watching ancient water mix with the new, you know it's already begun. The ocean is changing its mind. A quirky experiment once proved how sensitive this world is. Scientists placed a heat-emitting instrument near a sponge colony, barely enough to warm the water by 2 degrees. Within weeks, larvae stopped developing. Within months, half the colony died. 2 degrees, that's the width of a breath. And yet, even that tiny breath can undo millennia of perfection. You tilt your head upward, staring at the light pouring through the fissure. Tiny krill swarm near it, chasing plankton like pilgrims to a new sun. Their bodies glitter silver and pink. For a second, it's easy to forget the meaning behind the beauty, to just enjoy the dance. But below you, something stirs. The amphipods are moving faster now. Not frantic, just restless. Even the jellyfish have shifted their drift paths, following the new current. Change, the one thing this place has resisted for millions of years, is finally touching it. The idea feels sacred and tragic all at once. Historians still argue whether the giants will adapt or vanish. Some think they'll shrink back to normal proportions, losing their mythic presence. Others believe they'll find new ways to grow, new thresholds to conquer. After all, Antarctica has been remade before, by fire, by flood, by frost, and life always returned, stranger and stronger. You press your hand once more to the ice. It feels thinner this time, warmer. The vibration from above is constant now, wind, water, the low hum of modern civilization reverberating through what was once silence. You wonder if the creatures below can hear it too, if they sense our noise creeping closer. And suddenly, you remember something from the fossil bed, those ancient corals still embedded in rock, relics of a time when Antarctica was warm. Maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it's just a cycle beginning again. That thought is comforting and terrifying. Because if the giants vanish, something else will take their place. Evolution doesn't pause, it edits, slowly, ruthlessly, beautifully. The crack widens once more, letting a soft beam of golden light pierce the darkness. You drift into it, and for a heartbeat, everything glows. The shrimp, the jellyfish, even the silt on the ocean floor. The light turns the cold into warmth, the silence into song. You think of how fragile it all is, how even giants depend on balance so fine that a single degree can erase them. And yet, in that fragility lies something profoundly human, the will to endure anyway. The Antarctic doesn't demand permanence, it only demands humility. You take one last long look through the widening crack, the pale shimmer of sky above. Then you turn away, sinking once more into the calm blue twilight where the cold is steady and the giants still reign. The water grows quieter again as you descend, leaving the fractured light behind. Below, everything returns to its old rhythm, slow, patient, deliberate. The world of giants persists, as if pretending the surface doesn't exist. You find yourself near a vast plain of sediment, smooth and unbroken except for faint ripples. Across it, like slow shadows, the great isopods crawl, armor-plated creatures the size of dinner plates. They move with quiet confidence, oblivious to how strange they'd look anywhere else. You hover above one. Its compound eyes reflect your light in 1,000 tiny mirrors. It pauses, feels the current, then resumes its trek across the seabed, unbothered. In a place where everything is on borrowed warmth, calm is a survival strategy. You think back over everything you've seen: the shrimp, the sea spiders, the translucent fish, the glow of ancient bacteria in rock. Every species here tells the same story: endurance, not dominance. Each is an answer to the same question whispered by cold water: how far will life go to survive? Historians still argue whether this ocean is more alive or more dead. They call it a paradox, a graveyard that breeds giants. But standing here, watching these slow titans move through their eternal dusk, you realize it's both. Antarctica isn't a contradiction, it's a balance perfected. You drift forward, letting the water carry you. There's a calm, almost sacred feeling in this last stretch. Even your heartbeat seems to match the pulse of the sea. A quirky fact floats into your mind, one of those tiny details scientists love. Some of these isopods can live over 200 years. They grow slowly, molt rarely, and sometimes spend years between meals. A single creature here might outlive civilizations. The thought feels humbling. Humans measure life in decades. These beings measure it in silence. You pass a field of anemones waving their translucent arms like ghostly flowers. Around them hover smaller amphipods, moving in unison, catching flakes of snow-like detritus that drift from above. It's snowfall underwater, a perpetual storm of nourishment. Every flake a story from the surface, every bite a piece of time. And suddenly you understand why the Antarctic breeds giants. It's not just about cold or oxygen or isolation, it's about time. In a world that moves this slowly, life has the luxury to grow vast, to stretch its design, to become something grand. Maybe gigantism isn't a mutation, it's patience made visible. You float in place, eyes half closed, letting the realization settle. The cold no longer bites, it feels like being held. The silence, once oppressive, now feels like protection. Everything here has accepted its place in the long rhythm of the planet. Above you, faint echoes of cracking ice continue, but they sound distant, like thunder from another lifetime. Down here, there's only stillness and life. The amphipods drift by again, moving in their slow circles. You think of how fragile their kingdom is, how one shift in current or degree of warmth could erase them. And yet, somehow that fragility doesn't make them weaker, it makes them holy. Maybe that's the lesson hidden in all this cold. Endurance isn't defiance, it's faith. Faith that even in the darkest, slowest places, life finds a way to become magnificent. You take one last look across the seafloor. The giants move on, unhurried, unchanged. The ocean hums softly, a lullaby for the patient. You exhale slowly, feeling your breath rise, disappearing into the ceiling of ice above. And you realize something profound. The Antarctic didn't create giants just to amaze us. It created them to remind us what strength looks like when stripped of noise. It looks like calm. It looks like silence. It looks like time itself learning to breathe. You begin to ascend, slowly, carefully, leaving behind the realm of giants. The water grows lighter, softer, warmer by the meter. Your thoughts drift as lazily as the plankton rising with you. You imagine the creatures below, the shrimp, the sea spiders, the jellyfish, all still moving, slow as dreamers in an endless sleep. You think about how little of their story we truly understand, and how, maybe, that mystery is the point. The cold begins to fade from your fingers. You feel your heartbeat again, faster now, more human. The hum of life returns in small details, a faint tremor in your chest, the sound of your breath, the gentle hiss of air. Somewhere far above, sunlight glows through the cracks in the ice. You move toward it, and for the first time tonight, you can see color again, a soft gold bleeding into blue. You pause there, just below the surface, and look down one last time. The deep returns your gaze, vast and silent. It feels like the end of a conversation that will never really be over. The giants will still be there long after you're gone, moving slowly, patiently beneath the ice, waiting, as they always have, for the world to quiet down again. You close your eyes, let yourself drift in the last quiet moment. The water rocks you gently, like a heartbeat slowing to rest. The Antarctic breathes. You breathe with it. And for once, you feel small in the most comforting way. Good night.